All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Mastery Talks with Nathan Culver. I'm excited today to have you all on this particular conversation. As you know, this platform is meant to share and to have engage in meaningful conversation and exchanges where we're able to add value. We want to add value to you today through every conversation we have, but in particular, this conversation with someone I've known for quite some time and have the awesome privilege of sitting down with to talk about the subject of mental health. And given the circumstances of what's happening in our nation right now and around the world, actually, this is a very, very important conversation to have surrounding, mental health and how we're managing the crisis that we're in right now with COVID-19 and quarantine and just kind of in that space. And so many people are having so many challenges. So I want to introduce you all to Prunella Harris. She is a therapist. She is the CEO and founder of Restorative Family Services. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And so I'm excited because I've known Prunella, we've known each other going back to high school, and to see the wonderful work that she's doing in the mental health industry and in that space. And she'll give more clarity to around what she does in her specific niche, if you will, and focus, as well as we're going to get into a really good conversation about how we navigate this moment. And listen, y'all, I'm going to take this moment to be very transparent about my own challenges with what's happening and gain perspective along with you all. So, Prunella, just introduce yourself to our Mastery Talks audience and share some more about what you do.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Culver. I am just humbled and honored to be here. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm very passionate about this topic. So my name is Prunella Harris. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been in the helping field for about 19 years. I have experience with running a mental health facility. I also run my own private practice, Restorative Family Services, where I employ 6 additional clinicians. It's a group practice, and we cover the entire lifespan, and we cover a multitude of disorders. We do individual, group, family therapy, and I absolutely love this. So thanks for the opportunity. Sorry, to come on and just talk about mental health. Our nation is definitely facing a unique time. Never before in my lifetime have we experienced social distancing, or a time where a invisible threat was so magnificent that it's shutting down schools, that it's uh, depleting the inventory of protective health equipment, that it is creating such a dire health crisis. People are actually losing their lives. So this is a very unique time. People are being furloughed. The economy is being impacted. So this health crisis is impacting a lot of people, and you start to see the mental health emerge, especially if we were getting along just fine, without having to be exposed to these fears, or these hidden fears that used to be hidden, but now they're uncovered. So I'm very honored that you invited me here to talk about that. So it's one of my passions and goals. Oh, thank you.
So I want to start because now I don't know, I might have missed something, but tell me when this passion for you emerged for mental health and therapy and the space that you're working in right now. How did this become a passion of yours?
Okay. Well, growing up, I wanted to do so many things that probably paid a lot more money. And what happened to me, I kind of fell into mental health by accident, to tell you the truth. I grew up And I had a lot of hardships. I had a lot of trialing times. I had come from a poor neighborhood. We from Newark, New Jersey.
Yes, yes.
Um, and my family dynamics were not healthy at all in any sense. But I always remember people pouring into me, just random people making sure that
Hmm.
I didn't go on the wrong path. They were like angels in disguise. These people would just come out of nowhere if I was going down the wrong path to just bring me along. And I always did well in school, and they would just encourage me. And it's that helping nature. So I started to adopt that. I said, okay, well, God is looking out for me in so
Hmm.
many ways that I want to do something in which I can have an impact, do something where I can fulfill my purpose.
Hmm.
So I started to look into psychology. I really like that. I graduated from Seton Hall with a psychology degree. And then after that, I started working with children uh, and youth, New Jersey DIFUS.
Hmm.
And I really loved that. I got to touch a lot of disciplines. And then after that, I got a taste of what um, mental health was. And then I went to graduate school, got my degree, and the rest is history from there.
Wow, wow. In our community, we grew up in the same city, right, and faced some of the very same challenges in our family dynamics. And it is like a stigma. It's like a negative thing around the subject of mental health. And talk to us a little bit about what your thoughts are as to why that is the case, and how can we start to shift that focus from that negative tone that's kind of centered around mental health.
Well, I think for us as Black people in America, we don't trust we don't trust the healthcare system. We don't trust medical
Mm,
professionals. And that's because of the history behind what we have been through as a people in America. Uh, in addition, there is a stigma about mental illness being something you can just think your way out of or something you just can push through. And the more we learn about it, is our brain is an organ and it controls emotional functions and it controls how we perceive things. So the more we learn, the more we are educated about mental
hmm.
illness, the better we are in dealing with some of those stigmas. And that's exactly what my goal is. And that's what I love to do is just get out there in front of other people that look like me, because
Mm,
I don't believe you can change individuals' minds unless they can actually see in themselves represented in the mental health professionals.
wow.
So by seeing another Black female, by seeing another Black male in the helping profession, maybe they say, maybe it's not that bad, or maybe I can
Yes.
give this a try, or if I am going to go, I'm going to go see someone that looks like me. So then we can start that dialogue, and that's probably I have that conversation with a lot of my clients. I at the intake session. Hey, so what brings you in? Because usually Black people don't go into mental illness,
Yes.
health. So what brings you in today? And then, they're so relieved that I asked them that question. I'm like, yeah, I was thinking of this. And, most people just don't want to feel like they're not accepted. They want to feel heard. They want to uh, feel like someone gets them. So it's the same thing with mental health professionals. You want to get someone who may understand your culture, who may understand some of the generational traumas that you have gone through, and
Wow.
kind of
S-
level that playing field.
That's really good. I was recently in a session where someone made the distinguishing point between mental health and mental illness. Um, and they were really distinguishing the two, because I think, and I up until that point thought they were the same. So my question would be, number one, what would be how would you make that distinction, and how much does that inform a person about the whole subject of mental health and the importance of making sure that that exists for you?
Okay. So so is your question about the distinction between mental illness and
Yes.
mental health?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. So mental health is just preventative techniques that we would do to keep our bodies going, to keep our minds going, to make sure that we're functioning at an optimal level. Mental illness is taken from a more pathological state where you're looking for the problems. What are some of the
Mhm.
deficiencies? It's not working as optimal as it could be. So there is a diagnosable reason that there is some deficiencies that are going on. And usually, what happens is when we diagnose a mental illness, it usually is over several contexts. So it's usually you're having uh, issues in the multiple arenas of your life, so multiple domains. So
Mhm.
whether it's home or school, work, the community, but is a breakdown in how you're functioning across those settings, and it's persistent over a course of a certain amount of time.
Wow. Okay. So, in light of what's happening right now, this global crisis that we are in the midst of,
Mhm.
which is really we're forced really, we're put in a space where we have to be quarantined, isolated. And one of the things I made a distinguishing point about recently was, you have isolation in your home, with some people, their situation is not as dire enough or emergent enough for them to have to go to the hospital. So there's experiencing symptoms at home. There's some, we're isolated at home with our families, or we're isolated in the hospital. And all of these, I believe, have an impact on your mental health, your state of mind, where you are mentally and emotionally.
Yes.
What are some, how does someone just navigate being in a healthy mental space while going through whichever state they may be in? They may not be sick, they may just be quarantined and like, I'm ready to get out of this house. I've been watching people on social media say, I can't wait till they open the gate to outside again.
Hmm.
um, how do we maintain our mental health while we're dealing with this?
That's a very good question. We are social beings, so we are not meant to be isolated. And so that can breed a whole host of fear in individuals. And the definition of fear is unpleasant emotions that your
Mhm.
brain is going through that tells you that there's some danger. And this fear is real. There is
Yes.
real danger. There are people who are getting sick. There are people who are dying. So this is real for a lot of people. And so while we understand and we might be able to rationalize why we're social distancing, there are some nuances that come along with that, and just being unable to go about our routine and having our whole world turned upside down.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there are some protocols that you can do that are good for both your physical and good for your mental. So let's talk about the physical protocols that you can do. Well, one, you can follow the CDC and World Health Organization's recommendation for how to stay healthy, eating healthy. And that has both physical benefits and mental benefits, because when
Hmm.
you eat healthy, there are foods that will elevate your mood. There are foods that will help you to have more energy. So you want to definitely make sure that you're just not home snacking out of comfort because you don't have anything else to do. You're not on your regular routine. So you definitely want to make sure that you eat healthy, get enough sleep. And the reason now, so these are physical things that you
Hmm.
can do, but they also impact your mental. Getting enough sleep helps you because if you do have an underlying mental illness, it gets worse when you're sleep deprived. So
Wow.
making sure that you get enough sleep so that you can, make sure that your mental health is sustained.
Hmm.
Exercise. Exercise is great. It's a physical thing that helps your mental because exercise releases endorphins. It
Mm.
releases pleasure hormones in your brain, elevates your mood, helps you be able to deal with stress more efficiently. So you want to definitely do those things. And self-care. So if you need time apart, because being around your family is it requires energy, patience, it requires
Mhm.
empathy. So making sure that you understand when your bucket is empty, and that you do the things that recharge you, that you have that private time, that you also can be mindful and present in the moment with your family, but you want to give them the best parts of you and not the leftovers. So making sure that you uh, definitely do some self-care.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to the mental health piece of it, there are some things that we can do to make sure that we are more resilient in this time. And one of those things that we can do is try to be as flexible as possible. We're getting a lot of information. The information is changing from day to day. So being flexible and having that adaptability is going to help you be more resilient, because if you're not rigid, you won't feel traumatized every time there's a change that comes through, that they say
Mm.
that you have to do something different. Show yourself some compassion. Sometimes we judge ourselves harshly, like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I tired? Why am I so fearful? And that negative chatter takes over, and it just kind of brings us down, where we need all of the energy resources that we can to be able to appropriately problem solve. Because
Mhm.
what's going on in the background, think of like a computer system. You know how you run those apps in the background and it
Mhm.
drains your battery?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
the same thing happens to us. We may not be thinking about COVID-19 every day. We might be going along and thinking we're doing fine, but we find ourselves feeling exhausted and drained. It's because it's going on in the background. It's going on when we're
Wow.
talking to our
Wow.
family. So,
Wow.
making sure that you be compassionate with yourself. If you're tired, sleep, rest, be compassionate, give yourself that space to just rest.
Wow.
I have a few more. The next thing is being optimistic. There is a lot going wrong, and what you think about, you bring about, right? So if you want to
Wow.
focus on the negative, then yeah, it's going to be a rough go. You're going to feel depleted. You're going to wake up anxious. But if you can challenge yourself to find the good in whatever this is, whether it's,
Mhm.
I still have a job, or, what, my family is healthy, or, instead of being stuck at home, we're safe at home. Um, you know, um, we are still able to connect virtually. So just trying to find some peace, um,
Mhm.
doing that intentionally every single day, being grateful, and being optimistic even during an adverse time. Uh, Take news breaks.
Mm.
Sometimes you just got to walk away.
Mhm.
It's just, you're inundated. New numbers are coming about the death toll. There's just so much that is going on, and just if you sit in front of the TV and you watch that, you're downloading negative things into your system, and that's what's
Mhm.
replicating. And so that's what's going to
Wow.
play back in your mind over and over again. And those apps in the background, that if you're looking at those things, that's what's going to be running in the background and draining your
Wow.
energy. Um, Connecting with others. I know we're socially distancing, but just
Yes.
doing what we're doing right now, getting on Zoom meetings with family members, checking in, speaking to them on the phone. Those are some ways that you can stay connected. Self-care we talked about, just making sure that you
Yes.
continue to do things that recharge your battery. Um, coping, coping strategies like deep breathing, reframing your thoughts, relabeling the fear, which is just really talking yourself through it. When you talk yourself through a fearful environment, you actually relabel that experience. So instead of panic, you're more encouraging yourself. Okay, well, it's not that bad. Everybody here is safe, and we're
Mhm.
doing what we can to protect ourselves. So relabeling that, letting go of stress. I work with
Mm.
some frontline workers who are still going out, who are treating individuals who have been impacted by COVID. 19. And part of the things I give them to cope is shift. You have to put that worry in the worry box until the next day. You cannot
Wow.
constantly ruminate over what you saw at work. You can't take home that stress and let it eat at you until the next day you go in, and then you're inundated even more, and now you're depleted. So when you get home, just when you take off your scrubs and you put it in the wash, you're going to take off that and you're going to put that in the worry box, and then you're going to worry about it when
Mm,
you have to deal with it.
yes.
And so those are some strategies that I think might help us get through this very trialing time, is figuring out
Yes.
what we can do mentally, because that's all we have control over. The rest of the stuff we really don't have control over.
Wow. I want to address two other things in light of what's happening. There are other industries and people, and you and I've had a brief conversation about this, and I wanted to bring this to those who will listen to this or see this. Um, you have those who are like you and I, who are entrepreneurs. The great thing about what we do is that we were able to pivot to a virtual space. My business has been virtual since 2001. So um, I understand. I'm not move. I didn't have to move out an element that I was already in. But there's some people, like those who are beauticians and who run businesses that are in a space that they have to actually touch people to provide the service, and they're facing some level of anxiety, most likely worry, concern. What is their business going to look like? How are they going to make it through this difficult time? What would you say to those individuals to help them maintain a sense of peace while trying to work through this very stressful time?
Yeah. Um, and that is a very difficult position to be in. There are so many industries that are impacted um, by this health crisis. One of the things that I would say to someone who has lost the ability to um, earn an income would be to use this time to reconnect with family members, use this time to prioritize their mental illness. Entrepreneurs don't do a really good job with taking care of themselves. Usually they're in the hustle and bustle, and they're
Very
wearing
true.
multiple hats, and they're
Yes.
working long hours, and they don't have time for the family. So I would say this crisis has forced us to slow down. As a
Mm,
society, as a nation, it's really forced us to do that, and really trying to find out what what you need to do to, one, bring back that creativity, because being an entrepreneur means that you are gifted in the ability to be creative more so than the regular
mm,
population. And so, but when you're in survival mode, those centers are offline. You have the panic
wow.
centers that are taking, the driver's seat, and they're in control. So I would take this time as a mandated break from, what you're doing, and just connect spiritually, connect mentally, start taking care of your physical health, get all those things in order so that you can get back online with the creativity and try to re-establish or reinvent yourself. Because being an entrepreneur is not just attached to what you do, it
Hmm.
is it is about who you are and your innate capabilities. And entrepreneurs always have a way of bouncing back and being resilient. So it's just a matter of tapping into that creativity. You can start to teach courses in that,
Hmm.
and monetize that. But that comes with that creativity on how you still do what your skill set is, but in a more creative way. How do you
Yes.
help and solve a problem? So I would say, get connected with the family. I would say get connected spiritually, tap into your mental health, That way you can create the space that you need to continue to evolve, given
Mm.
the circumstances.
All of this is such great information and so helpful, I believe, to so many people who are in a lot of these spaces. I'm asking questions which relate to me, but also can help so many other people. Um, One of the other things I wanted to address again that we had a conversation about, for people like, you know, myself, and I don't want to put myself as much in the same category as some that I will mention, but where as a pastor, a public speaker, and getting engaged in those spaces requires interaction with people. I like to say that I'm a mix of both an extrovert and introvert because I really do appreciate. I actually appreciate this time right now, being able to like unplug and be in the element with my family, um, because it's how I recharge. Because everything else is very much extrovert related, involving being out in the public, being involved with people, and engaging in that way. And there are others like entertainers and other public speakers, motivational speakers, people who are in that space, singers, you know, that are in that space that right now, because of the social distancing and some of the things that have come down, they're not able to engage. And there's so many people who their identity and the essence of who they are is tied to what they do. How do they navigate this moment? Because they're not able to perform. I mean, I'm seeing people do like concerts on social media, but it's nothing like being present with people and hearing their response and engaging in that way. How do they navigate this moment?
Well, one of the ways I would suggest in navigating this is to simplify. And the reason I say simplify is because when you are in the public eye, it is easy to attach your identity or self-worth to
Mhm.
your achievements. And the difficulty with doing that is when that achievement does not seem, when you stop achieving, then you start
Mhm.
feeling less worthy and you start feeling less than. So this is an opportunity to really simplify and get to the core of who you are as a person, because that isn't tied to what you do. Your
Mhm.
value isn't tied to what you do. What you do is an expression of who you are,
Mhm.
and some of your gifts, and it might be in just that one sector that you're showing those gifts, but you might be, gifted in so many other areas, but this is the one that has taken off. So really simplifying, this is a time to kind of get to know more about who you are and spend some time with yourself and spend some time re aligning your
Mhm.
self-worth, and not for
Yes.
just the external validation of others, but more so, am I happy with who I am? And where are some
Mhm.
areas I can work on and things of that nature? Because at the end of it all, when you look at it, you can still solve a problem. Even though we're social
Mhm.
distancing, there's still platforms that you can do. It's just going to look different. It's just going to be a different interaction. So there are ways to continue to uh, do what you need to do, but it may not be where you get the energy from the crowd. And so that
Yes.
needing that external validation, but walking around with that fulfillment. And it's a different conversation when you're just filled with all this energy that you just, you're in charge, you just love it on yourself and you're just charged up and you have all this love to give versus I need you to fill me up.
Yes. Yes.
So it's a different discussion. So what I would say is go inward. Use this time to meditate, to self-reflect, and go inside and really start to heal those things that need to be healed. And then that is going to make that message so much further, so much broader because you've gone through and grown through this challenge.
Yes.
So I think with every crisis, there's an opportunity. And this may
Mm,
have caused individuals to, once those arenas have dried up, cause individuals to start looking at themselves. But once you look at yourself and heal and grow through that, the message coming out of this is going to be that much more powerful.
yes,
So.
yes. Well, thank you so much, Penelope. I want to thank you again for taking the time to have this conversation. Those of you who are connected to Mastery Talks and follow our conversations, you know that I bring people. We like to bring people who are experts, who we feel are experts, and who have spent and invested quite amount of time in their industry and field to bring us what is relevant, what is necessary, and what is helpful to help us move forward in being better individuals. Like one of my mentors says, you know, we are all called to make something or someone better. And so I'm grateful for this conversation. Uh, we just want, if you can, Prunella, just share with us where we can find you and how our audience can connect with you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Culver, for having me. And I definitely enjoyed our time together. So thank you. I can be found on Instagram at Restorative Family. That's RESTORATIVE Family. And I'm also on Facebook at Restorative FS. So those are some areas, some places you can find me. I love making connections, so definitely follow and like our page. We provide mental health and wellness tips to everyone.
Great. And I'm assuming as well with all of this transition and virtual that telehealth services are available through your company, your organization as well, correct?
Yes, we have taken our practice completely online. So our website is www.restorativefamilyservices.com, and you can click the link, contact us, and we do a free 15-minute phone consultation to make sure that we're a good fit.
All right. Well, thank you again so much,
Welcome.
Mastery Talks audience. We're so thankful again for Penelope Harris coming on and sharing with us. We want you to continue to follow her at the places she has mentioned, but also continue to follow us on our platforms. Again, Dr. Nathan Culver on all social media platforms. And listen, share this with someone that you know, share the app with them. This is housed within our app. And so we want you to please share the app. There's more conversations that we're having as it relates to this subject and many others that we believe will be a blessing to you. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Thank you, and God bless.